Hello and welcome to the World of Legends channel. We are here to bring you the hidden events and epic stories from the depths of history. Our channel has just started its journey and we want to grow with your support. Don't forget to subscribe, like our videos, and leave comments. Now, are you ready to embark on this dramatic journey where we will recount the great flood disaster that marked history in China in 1938? Let's begin. The year 1938 witnessed one of the greatest tragedies in world history. During one of the fiercest periods of the Second Sino-Japanese War, the rapid advance of the Imperial Japanese Army into the interior regions of China forced the Chinese government to take a radical and risky decision. To halt the Japanese Army's swift advance, Chinese soldiers decided to break the dikes of the Yellow River. This decision was far more than just a military strategy. It marked a dramatic turning point in a nation's struggle for survival. The Yellow River is known as the lifeblood of China. It has also caused great destruction throughout history by flooding many times. The waters of the Yellow River have been both a blessing and a curse for Chinese civilization for thousands of years. The breaking of the river's dikes not only aimed to halt the Japanese advance but also heralded a significant human catastrophe. On June 9, 1938, Chinese soldiers put this plan into action. The dikes of the Yellow River were destroyed, and the unleashed massive body of water quickly spread across the surrounding areas. With the floods, chaos reigned in the region. Villages, towns, and vast agricultural lands were submerged in a short time. People were forced to flee, leaving behind their belongings and homes. The floodwaters rapidly spread over a wide area, devastating farmlands, roads, and railways. Thousands of people lost their lives, and millions were left homeless. The magnitude of this disaster was not limited to physical destruction. It also caused a major humanitarian crisis. The Japanese army was significantly impacted by the flood disaster. Their advance halted, logistic lines were cut, and strategic plans were disrupted. The floodwaters restricted the mobility of Japanese troops, leaving many soldiers stranded in flooded areas. This sudden halt of the Japanese army provided Chinese forces with an opportunity to regroup and strengthen their defensive lines. However, the cost of this military success was very high. The flood disaster turned into a major tragedy for the Chinese people. Millions were left homeless, facing shortages of food and clean water. Epidemics spread rapidly, and people had to struggle with hunger and disease. A large portion of the agricultural land became unusable, crops were destroyed, and the regional economy collapsed. This event went down in history not just as a military strategy but also as a significant humanitarian crisis. After the disaster, the Chinese government and local authorities made intense efforts to control the situation and initiate the reconstruction process. However, this process took years. Rebuilding the dikes, reopening farmlands for cultivation, and people returning to their homes required a long time. The devastation caused by the Yellow River left deep scars not only in physical destruction but also in the social and economic structure. The effects of the disaster were felt for years. After the floodwaters receded, a massive destruction remained. Homes, villages, and farmlands were ruined, and people had to rebuild their lives. The flood disaster once again demonstrated the resilience and endurance of the Chinese people. The reconstruction process showed how important social solidarity and collective action are. In 1938, one of the darkest periods in Chinese history was taking place. The relentless attacks of the Imperial Japanese Army were advancing into the depths of China. Losing more territory every day, China was searching for a way out. During this period, Chinese officials began to devise an incredible plan. The decision to break the dikes of the Yellow River was seen as the last resort of a desperate nation. On the morning of June 9, 1938, a step was taken that would change the course of history. The Yellow River was the cradle of Chinese civilization. However, it had also caused countless disasters over thousands of years. The river was not just a water source, but also a source of great power and danger. Breaking the dikes of the river meant releasing this enormous body of water. Implementing this plan was both a significant strategic move and an unprecedented tragedy in human history. When the river's dikes were broken, an enormous body of water was quickly unleashed. The waters spread rapidly across the surrounding areas. Villages, towns, and vast agricultural lands were submerged in a short time. People tried to escape, leaving their homes and fields. However, many could not escape in the face of the water's speed and power. Thousands of people drowned. The flood was not just physical destruction, but also a significant humanitarian disaster. The magnitude of the disaster was unimaginable. Millions were left homeless, making it impossible to find food and clean water. Epidemics spread rapidly. Children, the elderly, and the sick struggled to survive in these harsh conditions. The flood's destruction completely disrupted the social and economic structure of the region. People had lost everything and were fighting for survival. The Japanese army was significantly impacted by this sudden flood disaster. Their advance halted, logistic lines were cut. Many Japanese soldiers were stranded in flooded areas. This unexpected event disrupted the Japanese army's strategic plans. Chinese forces quickly moved to turn this situation to their advantage. The chaos brought by the flood allowed Chinese soldiers to regroup and strengthen their defensive lines. However, the humanitarian tragedy behind military successes could not be ignored. The flood disaster disrupted the lives of millions of people. People lost their loved ones, homes, and livelihoods. This event was not just a military strategy, but also a major humanitarian crisis. Agricultural lands became unusable, crops were destroyed, and the regional economy collapsed. People had to struggle with hunger and disease. The Chinese government made intense efforts to control the situation after the disaster. However, this process took years. Rebuilding the dikes, reopening farmlands for cultivation, and people returning to their homes required a long time. The devastation caused by the Yellow River left deep scars not only in physical destruction but also in the social and economic structure. This tragedy once again demonstrated the resilience and endurance of the Chinese people. The reconstruction process showed how important social solidarity and collective action are. The flood disaster remained an unforgettable lesson throughout history. This dramatic event stood as one of the greatest tragedies in world history. The Yellow River disaster went down in history not just as a military strategy, but also as a significant humanitarian tragedy. This event showed the devastating effects of war and how humanity deals with such disasters. The Yellow River disaster helps us not only to understand the past, but also contains important lessons for preventing similar tragedies in the future. We have shared with you this dramatic event from the depths of history. On the World of Legends channel, we will continue to bring you such epic stories and important historical events. Don't forget to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and leave comments. Your support is very valuable to us. See you in our next video. Goodbye.